Today on Podcast Them Down, we are your metal guide to the Winter Olympics 2022. Welcome to Podcast Them Down. I'm Tim from American Burning Shadows. American power metal band Burning Shadows, dual violin folk metal band Eisenmore, Fade to Black Metallica tribute, and recently vacated graves, true zombie metal, and I'm gonna fix this in post. And when you hear this, it'll be perfect. And I'll edit this part out too. Anyway, this is Podcast Them Down. I'm joined by many people today. Full house. It's bad timing.
That's kind of that's
bad.
Too soon, asshole.
Too soon. Too soon.
I mean, he would have found it amusing.
That was Matt of Podcast Them Down fame. Doug is here from Podcast Them Down fame. Dave, the drummer from Burning Shadows and Eisenmore, and Mike, the bassist of Eisenmore and the guitarist of some other band named recently vacated graves, true zombie metal. All right, so we're here. We've done this for the Summer Olympics, and it took a while. I have a feeling it's not going to take as long for the Winter Olympics. So we are going to go through every event and decide exactly how fucking metal they are. Fuck yes.
Yep.
All right, and you got to make sure you cuss in the first minute so you get demonetized on YouTube. Because fuck YouTube and fuck you. That's right.
Curse those handsome bastards.
When I said fuck you, I pointed to Matt. That doesn't that doesn't come through.
I mean, technically, are you pointing to like everybody?
It could have been everybody until you specified it was Matt.
Wait, what the hell?
Fuck you. Well, I'm just trying to fire you up because you're kind of not bringing it.
It's an athletic competition now. We're about to do sports stuff.
That's right. This is all competition.
Man, I'm gonna compete the hell out of myself.
I'm gonna compete harder.
Yeah. Fuck me. I got Manowar's #1 pumping in my head. I'm ready to get this going.
All right, so
I can't wait for Man of War Madness.
For those new to this, we're going to each assign a score to each event from 0 to 10, and then the average is the objective official metal score. It can't be argued. We have worked out all the kinks out of this, and we're all staring at a spreadsheet, so that's important because we're probably going to refer to this spreadsheet time and time again. So, you know, because that's what people tune in for. They want to hear us talk about spreadsheets and categorization and ratings and numbers and averages and standard deviations and so on.
So and I'm glad you brought up the standard deviation because I see that there's a new column on the spreadsheet that says, I figured out that the abbreviation stood for standard deviation, but I don't know what that means.
That is how spread out the scores are. So, if everyone gave it a 10, you'd have no standard deviation.
So the measure of controversy, excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like to think about it. Would you say it's the average distance of an answer from the average? I believe that's what the standard deviation is, more or less.
I do like Dave's definition, even in how we talk about it in popular statistics. It is essentially that.
And so if you use an average and standard deviation, you are assuming that the data is Gaussian distribution instead of bimodal or Bayesian or whatever. So we have determined that the data is in fact Gaussian.
Yeah.
So these do apply. So, and I believe I put this elsewhere today. If you use our results, please cite the podcast correctly in your references. All right.
I would like to submit, though, this is a theory to be tested later, but I think Dave's presence as a scoring agent makes this data trend to bimodality.
Now,
well, you're wrong because we have already determined that
it's Gaussian, of course, but I mean, maybe
the system
that's
can handle one
PhD
chaos agent. Yeah. But it won't be a podcast. I mean, Dave is going to share lots of personal stories about each sport and,
The idea.
Yeah, like the time he luged when he was working for Cirque du Soleil.
That's not pronounced loogie?
We could.
I would like to challenge any future, information scientists or mathematicians. We are providing you lots of rich data, and if you would like to use our data sets for a future dissertation or postdoc, please let us know, because I think we could learn a lot and maybe save music, sports, and culture.
All right, sounds good. On that note, let's just plow right into it. Fuck you, Matt. All right, here we go.
Damn.
All right, well, you know what? You're going to start. Biathlon.
All right.
What do you got? So what is the biathlon?
So the biathlon is quite possibly the best sport ever because it answers this question. What if I have to go cross country skiing, but I also hate somebody and I meet my enemy? So I imagine that an angry person created the biathlon. So you cross country ski, and then at certain points on the route, you just shoot at things. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I imagine it was like some kind of like Scandinavian military training exercise at some point. I'm not looking, I'm just guessing.
Good guess.
And I think it just, for some reason, because the whole notion of a Winter Olympic Games was created by cold countries that kept losing in the real Olympic Games. Fun fact, it's not called the Summer Olympics, it's called the Olympics. And the Winter Olympics exist solely for massaging the egos of countries that can't run. And because of that, I can imagine like the 1920s coming together as like, we like skiing and shooting, and they made this event, which is why it's based in hatred and spite and schadenfreude and ressentiment, which is why it's getting a 9.99 from me.
Wow.
Admirable.
All right, let's just roll through the order in the spreadsheet. Doug, you're up.
Yes, the Norwegians invented it, and it was first introduced into the Olympics as the sport of military patrol. It is a killing art. It is not new, and there is no freestyle element. Therefore, it is a 10.
Wow.
All right, Mike, you're up.
I totally agree. I also I like as Matt was explaining the sport, I got this idea in my head of some guy that just went out cross country skiing to kill somebody and somehow stumbled into a sporting competition. And they were like, "You won." It's like, oh, yes, I was not killing anybody. I was just competing.
It was all a game.
All right, so what's your score
10.
there? 10. Wow. All right, Dave.
All right, so I love that we haven't yet addressed the metal quotient of any characteristic of the biathlon, so I'll start with that. Let's talk about the fact that this is the most militaristic of the Olympic sports. And let's tie it into our friends in Sabaton. Don't they have a song about Samo Haiha? I'm mispronouncing his name, but like the Finnish sniper who decimated the Russian army.
Oh yeah, that was when they ran out of wars to talk about, so they started talking about people in the wars.
Yeah,
this is not the Sabaton episode, by the way, which is hopefully is coming in 2022.
Is that a ghost in the trenches?
No, he was a Finnish rifleman who had this outrageous, like the Wikipedia him if you search for any Finnish greatest sniper ever. But he would ski and shoot and kill Russians essentially.
White Death.
That's the man.
Wow.
Yeah. So pretty fucking metal. Also, Norway dominates this sport every single year, which is a personal point of pride as someone with some small amount of genetic ancestry from there. And I love to watch it. There's something relaxing about the repetitive motion of the skiing and then the shooting and like that mental calm that you need to exert over your body to keep your heart rate at a decent level so that you don't miss the target and that you get penalized for missing. Like, what other individual sport has penalties in the Olympics?
Race walking.
Yep.
Is that in the Winter Olympics?
Of course not.
Well,
No.
there we are. Sure. Let's give this one an 11 because it really is my favorite Olympic winter sport.
Wow.
All right.
There goes the data set, but
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm about to fix it. Okay,
Wait,
So
Mike,
give me a scale.
We said 1 to 10
it's
several
0 to
times.
10.
No, I wasn't listening.
That's
no,
pretty
it's
metal.
an 11. It's immutable.
I'm not.
It's
changing.
in there.
It's-
Yeah,
You,
you shouldn't change.
you can't go
Cell's
back.
Password protected.
Wait, what was Mike's score?
10.
There it is. All right. So, you all bring up, all this shooting and military and Norway and mountains and so forth. And the equipment listed on the Wikipedia page is skis, poles, rifle. And that sounds badass, right? However, cross-country skiing is barely skiing, and those rifles are barely rifles. This is a joke compared to how it started out. You get a BB gun, and then you go in a little circle. No, this is a 3 at best.
Whoa.
They took something that could potentially be awesome, and they've sanitized it, and, you put kitty gloves on it, and then, you have to hold your rifle still. I get to lie down. What the fucking lie down during a sport? Fuck that. 3. All right, let's move on.
I'd like to propose a column to the right of standard deviation, which is metalness weight.
What? How would you calculate that?
So based on arguments, we would assign it a value. 1 being, kind of is what it is. But if it's really not metal, and I think Tim made a very good argument that it's not,
but
then maybe we do 0.5, and it just completely halves the average.
But aren't our scores the metalness? Isn't
This is like a bonus weighting?
It's a multiplicative factor. Oh, that's interesting. We'll have to maybe we'll update our methodology.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Tim
this is
made
too
the most
complicated for right
impassioned, belligerent argument. So in that sense, it was the most metal.
I can be plenty belligerent, Doug.
All right. Well,
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, Doug. By the way, just because I'm running the podcast doesn't mean you can't say fuck you to me. And if you do, you know what? Fuck you. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, all these fucks. There goes your overhead.
That's right.
But guys, just remember, we've paid for 3 more fucks, so use them sparingly. Oh, fuck! Wait! Damn it!
By the way, support us on the Patreon. Go down to the Linktree link in the description. Find the Patreon in there, because we're not getting monetized on YouTube, or by anyone else for that matter. So, because fuck them. All right.
You need the Patreon and the Twitch. You ain't got it.
Oh,
You're out of control.
that's fucking
Yeah,
shit.
who's the business
Oh,
manager?
that's the
of this?
last one!
Oh, we have to move on to another word. All right. Boogers. Let's next.
Man.
All right.
Bobsleigh.
Bobsleigh, which is of the group bobsledding, which is not inclusive of luge. I don't understand this.
Is bobsleigh a swear or is it a sport? Are we substitutive?
All right. So, everyone knows about bobsleigh or bobsledding as it's known here in America. But everyone knows it because of the 90s documentary Cool Runnings.
Yep.
Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme.
Get on up, it's bobsled time.
Yeah.
One of John Candy's finest roles.
It was so heartbreaking to have to watch John Candy cheat. Or know that he was a cheater.
That's true.
Awful.
That's true.
It crushed me as a child. Those Atlanta games? No, Calgary, excuse me.
Yeah.
How could it have been Atlanta?
So the bobsled is they take this sled and put either 2 or 4 people in it and go down an ice track. So it needs a special course and it needs special equipment. And to start off, there's a sprint where 1 or 2 guys or ladies push the sled, and then they get in, and then only the person in front can see, and they all lean through the turns. And at the end, if your lucky egg is still intact, everything's a-okay. So
Lucky egg.
yes.
That's right.
Yeah, so I don't know if anything's particularly metal about this, but I also don't think anything is particularly not metal about this, so I'm going to go perfectly even 5. Oh, then again, it is very cold, and there's lots of ice and risk of death involved, so that 5 goes up to a 7.
Wow.
Are these bobsleighs still made of metal? Or
I bet they're
is
fiberglass, which is not metal.
The runners
you're
are metal.
right.
They still
Runners
use
are
steel
metal.
runners.
I mean, it's a team thing. It's like 3 men in a sled.
According to Wikipedia, modern day sleighs combine light metals, with I guess like anathema, steel runners, steel, so there is steel, and an aerodynamic composite body. So it's
Fuck
composite.
that. First they ruin airplanes, now they ruin sleds.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Tragic.
I did look it up. Luge has more Swiss, Norwegian, German origins. Bobsleigh and skeleton have English origins, but they were all kind of developed around the same time. From different governing bodies. That's why they're kind of different sports.
Interesting.
Okay. I'm not particularly. I feel like of the careening sports, in which you careen down like an icy pathway, bobsleigh is the least metal of the 3. It's much more, as we've already intimated, it's much more reggae than metal. And for that, I'm gonna give it a 5.
So I'm going to give it a 9. And the reason is if you go to the Wikipedia, there's a section called brain trauma.
Oh, fuck yes.
And it says, let's see. There are no seatbelts or other protections. The sledders can simply be falling down the course at high speed with their helmet grinding along the surface or bouncing off the interior of the sled. One sledder described his experience during the crashes as being equivalent to his head being inside a jet engine.
All right,
Even ignoring crashes.
I checked it. I checked it on Metal Archives. There is no band named Brain Trauma, nor has there ever been. This is
Really?
You're welcome, bands who need a name. Your new name is Brain Trauma.
Bobsleigh.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's what I want our new band to be.
Depends how you spell slay.
A brain. Nice.
You know,
that's good.
That does bring up a good point. So I'm raising mine as a point to 6.
A brain scan of one bobsledder revealed damage to the rear and frontal lobes consistent with micro tears in the brain's white matter.
You know, the trauma is metal, but as we will soon disclose, I think many of these careening sports are more traumatic.
I mean, but this isn't necessarily like. I guess we are kind of winning the race, aren't we? It's pretty metal, is what I'm saying. Despite reservations and the chill out reggae-ness of the sport, as it were. There's a lot of danger.
Yeah,
Fatal
incidents. Yeah, it's true. You gotta worry about the weight of the sleigh on top of you as well. When it's the skeleton and luge, it's just you battering your body down that icy pathway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of it starts to feel like rowing, which is not metal.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, man, there's a lot of possibility for injury, and yeah, 3 people, however, 4 people, shit. Talk about a force multiplier.
And yet, as we will soon discover, not that bad of a sport compared to certain other ones.
I feel like there's some ominous foreshadowing happening here.
I would go with the 7.
Most of the fatal incidents listed on Wikipedia weren't even in an actual race; they were in practice. So this just like cuts people down before they can even try.
It winnows the field, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what more I can say that hasn't already been said.
Do you have a personal story?
No, because they really was just cool runnings for me. I saw it in the theaters. We back in the day, there used to be this radio station that broadcast in the Silver Spring, DC metro area called Radio Oz. It was kids' music. They would play like Cheech and Chong's kids songs. Like Cheech Marin had like a music career for believe it or
Dave's
not.
not here. You just like Cheech and Chong because Dave's not here.
Dave's not here, man.
No, Mexican Americans.
Cheech Marin had a second career or a side career, I guess, writing kids songs. At any rate, this radio station would do these family 4-pack giveaways, right? With trivia questions. You call in, you get the answer to the trivia question correct, and you're on the air, and you win a family 4-pack to see a movie at the City Place Mall. So that's
high quality mall.
Right.
In downtown Silver Spring.
For anyone who hasn't been there, high quality mall. And this is probably like 1994, 95 we're talking about. And that's how I saw Cool Runnings. And that's where my engagement with Bobsleigh and bobsledding as a group of sport began. And I can think of some really great times that I had around that area in Silver Spring and the City Place zone, but it was all kind of like the punk and like proto grungy aspects of music. So I'm going to give this a 3 because all the connotations.
He just muted himself.
He did.
In the wrong window. 3.
For those listening, Doug looks so pleased with himself for planting the seed of that personal story.
We got a lot of insight. No, I really get where that score is coming from.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Moving on. Still part of the bobsledding group, skeleton. So this is the same thing, but totally different. So instead of it being in a bobsleigh with 1 to 3 other people, it's just you on a boogie board with skates on it going head first down the icy track. So, yeah, and I don't think there's much more to it than that. So the skeleton has got to be more metal than bobsledding because, first of all, it has a more metal name. Skeletons are more metal than bobsleigh. And you're going face first, so you're probably gonna fucking die if you blow it. And if you blow it, it's your fault. It's no one else's fault. So I think it's more metal than bobsled, which I gave a 7. So I'm gonna give this one a 9.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Skeleton, just the name itself, more metal. There are at least 2 metal bands on Metal Archives named Skeleton. Like What are you gonna see? The fucking skeleton. That wasn't a fuck. That was a fucking because I used an ing.
But
so
you
we're
used
only
a
one
fuck
over.
to say fucking.
Fuck you, man. Oh no, now we're 3 over budget. Oh fuck. 4, fuck, 5. Ah. Okay. Anyway,
we need
We're
Patreon.
We're going into debt. We're going into debt.
Okay, so anyway, you're absolutely right. It's not as metal as Biathlon. It is much more metal than the Bobsleigh. I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, it's not a killing art, but it's sort of a suicidal art.
Yes.
And it's this existential thing. It's just you're throwing yourself down, and it's you and a wall of ice.
I don't want to steal Mike's thunder, but the Wikipedia page also has a section for brain injury under this one, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's definitely a strong 9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll probably have to boost this one to a 9.5. There's a part of me that wants to ding it for the name skeleton, because at this point, I think of skeletons as like bedsheet phantasm spooky. You know what I mean? But I've watched way too many of like the skeleton song with my kids to find skeletons scary anymore.
True.
It's like goofy.
What's that stupid band that's kind of ruined Ghost?
Thank you. Hey, upcoming episode, Mike.
Yeah. There's the real Ghost without the H, who I believe is French, and is like one of those French black metal bands that turn to electronic music. He's great, but fuck that other group.
Uh-huh. Doug needs to be on the Ghost episode.
Oh man, that looks amazing.
Love it. Did you know one of Fish's greatest jam vehicles?
All right, Dave, it's time for your score and not a diatribe about Fish.
So I think, yeah, obviously Skeleton far more metal than the simple Bobsleigh, but I feel so bad because wasn't it in Sochi that there was a skeleton runner who died on a training run?
It was not the skeleton, Dave.
Oh no!
What was it?
Yeah, you would.
I guess we'll be coming to that. All right, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, skeleton don't make skeletons. Well, I mean, nearly everyone who's ever played the sport eventually dies, but not from skeleton-related purposes.
Wow.
All right.
Strong statement, Matt.
It's a 6.7 for me.
Interesting. Okay.
Elijah played skeleton, but then he was exhumed bodily into heaven. So,
all right, moving on. For some reason, this is not part of the bobsledding category. The next one is luge, which is basically skeleton, but feet first instead of head first. I don't. Okay. Let's go in reverse order and start with Dave.
All right. So the key thing about the luge that always bothered me is like, have you ever laid in bed and tried to look at your feet? How the hell are they seeing where they're going?
That is a good point.
I got covers on, Dave.
Wait, you don't sleep like an 18th century gentleman with your feet sticking out from beneath your too short covers?
Well,
right, you pull them up and your feet come out.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but I can barely see them around the canopy.
Oh, well, I didn't consider that.
No,
how the hell do they see? I would opt, if I had to choose, like, gun to my head, a skeleton run or a luge run, I would take the skeleton run because I feel like I could see better and react better. But if you look up at the luge runners, they've always kind of got that like strain to their neck, which is about as metal as it gets. And for that, they're getting an 8.6 for one of the more metal years on record.
Wow, you actually rank them higher than skeleton and way higher than Bobsleigh.
Yeah, mostly for the neck thing.
Duh.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
I'm going to give this a 9.5 as well. I think the risk of death is pretty high here. I also think the risk of death is kind of amplified by the risk of getting like split at your crotch. If you hit the wrong thing, you could die in a really unpleasant way. Whereas with the skeleton, if you hit something, you're probably just dead on impact.
Right.
Oh, there's more
like if there's an errant pole in the track, like that's horrible.
Yeah. So, that being said, I feel like the way that they have to ride looks really goofy. I don't know. It looks like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Like you're laying on the floor and there's a snail and you're trying to avoid it, but you don't want to move, so you like scoot your butt up a little bit, I guess, to prevent anything from. That's the best analogy I can come up with. That's what it looks like. That's the
best analogy you can come up with?
Yes, it is.
It's late. All right. Give him a break.
Mike is haunted by snail. There's a fucking snail.
Look, everybody's been through this, okay? Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Common experience.
Yeah,
so name one person. You were there for hours.
Name one person in this room who hasn't seen this happen.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Doug, I think this is a ripe opportunity for you to give your thoughts and maybe even a personal story about the luge.
He's trying to do to you what you did to him.
Yeah, I don't have a deep personal connection to this sport, and unfortunately they haven't made any kids' movies about it that I'm aware of. So I'm going to give it a 7 and invoke my right not to explain why.
I love it. That's pretty metal of you, Doug.
That is.
I'm going to give Doug a 9 right there.
This is actually the deadliest Olympic sport.
Really? More than skeleton?
Skeleton.
Well, to Dave's point, it's probably because he can't see very well.
So there have been no fatalities in competition. However,
it's all practicing.
There have been 2 fatalities in practice, which makes it the only event. It makes it the only event to ever have multiple deaths. Now we can debate skiing, but that was in 2 separate skiing events, which we'll get to. So this is the only sport that has racked up multiple fatalities, and it is really all about that different motion, right? You can't see where you're going. You have less control. You're bugged out by the fucking snail on your chest. And also Luge, I think, sounds like the name of like an obscure like Danish like power trio. So for all those reasons, they also get my 9.99.
Wow, I'm surprised. All right, so for Luge, I think it's got to be more metal than bobsled. Is it less metal than skeleton? Judging by the scores here, we seem to be split on whether it's less metal than skeleton. You should visit the Wikipedia, because apparently there's double luge, which just looks ridiculous.
It looks exactly as you're imagining it.
Yeah, because it's a tiny sled device, luge device, and they're just piled on top of each other.
And it begs the question, why?
Yeah, like you got to feel bad for the guy in back or the lady in back, because to your point, you can't see.
You can't see.
But if you're the bottom slice of bread, you really can't fucking see. So
I actually don't know which is more uncomfortable.
yeah.
I think submitting to that is pretty metal.
Yeah.
And not only that, you have to
submission
work
metal
hard.
though. What's that, Mike?
You have to work really hard to get to this level. So you like professionally have somebody just lay on you
Yeah.
while
Usually-
almost dying.
Yeah, that's only legal in a couple of states usually. So
I mean,
um
ultimately, it is filmed at the Olympics, so
but is it more metal than skeleton? I'm going to say it's exactly as metal as skeleton because it's got some arguments for and it's got some arguments against. So I got to give it a 9. All right. Moving right along, the extremely exciting sport of curling.
I love it.
So curling is on a specialty pebbled ice surface in which 2 teams try to get large granite stones specifically harvested and polished and shaped for curling with a handle added to it, and they're trying to get to the center of the house, as it's known, after throwing something like 4 of them. And whoever has the most stones closest to the center gets some points, and then you do it again and again and again and again and again and again, and eventually they decide who wins. And recreationally, if you go curling, the losing team buys the winning team drinks, even if you're playing in Laurel, Maryland, and it's 10 a.m. So,
Wait, who's the they? Because that's very important for the medal score.
there is a team of 4 people on each side. And
Yeah, but who does the scoring?
well, I guess both teams do. So, I don't think there's a judge. I mean, recreationally in the Olympics, I'm sure there's an official
It's like
scorekeeper.
bowls, right? It's like
Yes,
it's sort of like bowls or cornhole. It's like ice bowls with brooms.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so the brooms. So to control where the stone is going, you can put spin on it, which makes it curl. See? So it's called curling. And then you can control the speed allegedly with the broom, which temporarily changes the friction of the ice. So anyway, yes, if it sounds like I've done it before, it's because I've done it before. Oh, and there are special curling shoes. So, all that being said, this is by far the least metal thing I've ever described, except for the drinking at the end. So, it would get a 0.00, but, there's drinking, and you could probably do it while drunk. That might help, actually. And things you can do while drunk is metal. So, I don't know. I think it earns a solid 1.11.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm just gonna give it a 1 even, and that one is entirely coming from the drinking. Musically, to me, it seems much more like ambient, sort of electronic music. It's very complicated, but all this complication just sort of makes you zone out and enter this like realm of self-hypnosis. Like it's very, if you happen upon a curling match or whatever the curling session is on the Olympics, like you'll end up watching it, but not because you're particularly enjoying the emotions of it. You're just like stuck, like a deer in the headlights or a little fly like circling around that blue zapper thing. It's hypnotic. It's sort of like electric death, but not in any cool metal ways.
Oh,
yeah.
So I feel like when and the last time I saw curling, I swear the American team looked like they were all named like Bob. You know what I'm saying? Like
this is a very everyman sport.
did they look like they could just stop curling, go to the bowling alley, and fit right in?
Yes. It
Oh,
looks like they got up there were like, oh, I'm in the Olympics
like
this morning. Okay.
overly complicated team bowling.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is. I did gloss over the fact there is yelling involved, but it's the guy. It's the person who threw the stone. They call it throwing. Who slid the stone? How about that? Yelling about how hard to broom, how hard to sweep. So
Yeah, so basically, some folks wake up from a hangover, find themselves in the Olympics. They start throwing a rock all over the place and sweeping up after it. I mean, there's a bit of nonsensicality to it that I think does enhance the metalness of it, because it's like, fuck this, who cares? This is what I'm doing. I'm going to the Olympics for this. But I think I have to give it a 3, just because it's so, just, like, there's no risk of anything except for maybe the stone rolls over somebody's foot.
But you know what, Mike? That's a great point.
that would
That's
break
a
a
great
toe.
point. Because I feel like if you're just like a spectator at the Olympics and they run up to you and say, this is Team USA, the second guy on the luge is sick. We need you to, represent your country. I'm not getting on that thing. But they're like, we need you to be on the curling team. I'm like, yeah, why not? Just give me 20 minutes to find some shoes.
And pound a beer.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, if you go to Wikipedia and look at their outfits, they're just wearing like t-shirts and like regular shoes. Like there doesn't appear to be much of an official uniform, And then they have these old pictures, like paintings, a curling match at Eglinton Castle in Ayrshire, Scotland in 1860, and they're all wearing like foppish outfits. This is
Use of foppish.
It just requires it's a leisurely sport.
Any sport in which you can remain wearing a bowler hat is probably not all that intense.
Yeah, that shit's flying off when you're going down the luge.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Well, I have fond memories. So just to step back, the National Curling Center is at the Laurel Ice Rink, where I have been going for over 20 years of my life, various times. Rink 4 is terrible to play in. I do miss when I think Rink 2 used to be able to play roller hockey.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So on the basis of that and some of the arguments made by others here, I'm going to give it a 2.
Doug and I used to play on a team there, and it had a very metal name.
Yeah, literally.
But that's another episode. So, but they did build the curling center kind of stuck onto the rink, and apparently before they had proper curling ice, they just curl on the main ice rink.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
So
that sounds exceptionally dangerous.
Yes. So, find another curling rink within like a 6-hour drive, because I doubt you can. Nor should you.
Or should you?
Dave, your score's
Not in these
missing.
parts. That's because I haven't done my spiel yet.
Well, that explains that.
So, curling, obviously, gets a base score of 5. Simply, and we're going to add to that. And yes, we are. And if you want to check the chat, there's my rationale for their initial 5 points, which is the groundbreaking music video that Hammerfall shot with the Swedish women's curling team for their song Hearts on Fire in 2006. There is no one more metal than Hammerfall. They are the Templars of Steel. And when they imbue that metal power to the Swedish women's curling team, I don't know how they did at the Olympics, but it makes it
I was
really
about to look it up.
I was going to say they had that power and they gave it up.
That's right. That's by the way.
I want to talk about Latter-day Hammerfall.
That is another episode that Mike and I already discussed recording. What the hell happened to Hammerfall?
Boy, yeah. Please let me know when we do that. I like the drinking aspect of that, so I'm giving it another point for the mandatory drinks. And I think that's far enough. I love curling, but I don't think my love for curling makes it particularly metal.
Okay. I'm not seeing a score.
He loves...
Yeah,
he mutes himself rather than putting his score in.
It's because I look at the cursor, all big and blue, on my Google sheet and assume that that's the window I have selected, and it's not.
All right, next.
That level of honesty and introspection is very metal, but...
Is it, though?
What do I know?
It could be.
Maybe it's prog metal.
Yeah.
Depends on the genre, right?
Porcupine Tree Song, for sure.
Yeah. All right, next. Ice hockey. How about Doug? How about you start this one? Now, I do need to stress Olympic ice hockey, which is different.
Oh, yeah. They throw out a lot of the good things about the game.
Right. No fighting. Lots more room because the rink is bigger.
It's probably fucking metric, too.
It's like what? It's like a full meter wider on each side, and there's additional.
Watch it, you
half meter of space between
hey
the back of the cage and the end boards.
This is and I feel like it's full check, so you get the micro concussions and all the horrible things that happen to those of us who play it. Especially full check. And I guess the speed even helps with that.
Yeah, but more room probably means more speed.
Yeah, the nationalism, all the good and bad that comes with that. It's a solid 9. If it was the North American game, it would be a 10.
Good point. How about we go?
We're going to start calling you Doug Cherry.
I
like this budding rivalry.
All right. I'll go next. Yeah, if it it is less metal than North American. Oh no, my lights turned off. What happened? It was less metal than the North American hockey. I believe if you fight in the Olympics, you're automatically thrown out of the game. That's not metal. But all the penalties remain. So that's pretty good. I believe that when there's a shootout or a penalty shot, anyone can take it, which led to several years ago, the TJ Oshie magic that happened. That was metal as fuck because, no goaltender could stop TJ Oshie, a proud Washington Capital. So,
I mean, now at least.
But what bearing? Yeah, he was not at the time, but the Capitals were smart enough to grab him. So anyway, what bearing does that have on the metalness? None. I'm just giving a personal story because I watched that. So, as for this is difficult because hockey has got to be more metal than luge because if everything goes right, you start at the top of a hill and get to the bottom of the hill. But if everything goes right in hockey, you could still lose teeth. And just because there's more room and there's more passing and more possession shouldn't penalize it too much from North American ice hockey. So I'm going to also give it a 9. I agree with Doug. Let's go with Mike now.
I don't know shit about hockey.
Okay, so in hockey, you wear armor, you have a weapon in your hand, and there's knives on your feet. And you're trying to get a piece of rubber into the other team's net, which is guarded by
Frozen
a
rubber.
guy with bigger armor and different knives on his feet.
And full disclosure, there is a lot of use of composite materials now. It's kind of ruined the game.
It didn't
but
used to. It used to be wood, but now it is. Most sticks are composite. Yes,
so you go through like
that's
25 of them in a season.
Well, and
Heresy, man.
that fact has been factored into my 9.0.
It's big hockey, dude. It's Bauer and Easton. They're all conspiring to like advertise these lighter, more flexible sticks, get more torque on your slap shot. No, buy 20 sticks a season.
They do seem.
I don't
My,
play hockey. I don't play hockey.
I appreciate your passion on this issue, though, Dave. Because you're right. You're right on.
My gut is to just go with Doug and Tim.
That is very wise of you, and you should be
Super
commended.
metal. All right, Matt.
Well, I'm frankly a little disappointed in everyone. So, even though we've both given the two scores I'm reading on the spreadsheet are 9s, I think we're failing to appreciate some things. Number one, most of the Winter Olympic Games are like feats of individual skill, and people just happen to be incidentally representing countries. As far as I can tell, ice hockey is the most like simulated war aspect of the Winter Olympics. Like, there's films about great clashes between nations in hockey in a way that we don't see in bobsledding. Or luge, or alpine skiing, and I also like to think. Now, this is totally fallacious. But I like to imagine that ice hockey just came about because people got really drunk while curling and started hitting each other with brooms, and thus the game of ice hockey was made, even though that's not how it was, and up here it is, and my headcanon it is, which is why I'm giving it a full, complete 10.
Nice. I was going to give Olympic ice hockey, and I stress the Olympic nature of that. I was originally going to give it a base 5 points because, as you know, passionate listeners to the program may remember, Jag Panzer wrote a song about the Colorado Avalanche's 2001 Stanley Cup winning run. And anytime a band writes a song specifically about, even tangentially a sport, even though this was like a specific event in sport, I think that gets it some medal points. But if we're talking Olympic hockey, we're going to have to cut that normal 5 down to a 2.5 because of the members of that 2001 Stanley Cup winning team, only a fraction ended up in international play in 2002 in the Olympics. Now, was that 2002? That was the year that Canada won gold, as I recall. And poor Sweden, Peter Forsberg, scoring so many beautiful goals, but denied the gold medal himself. Anyway, I feel like I'm digressing here. So 2.5 points for the Jag Panzer song, then an additional 2 points for the wider rink, because I just love seeing a looser game and the passing opportunities that Olympic hockey has compared to like the NHL. It's just so much more satisfying for me to watch. So that's a 4.5 on the medal scale.
Wow,
It
that's
ruins
literally
me and
half.
Tim's video hockey. I'll say that.
Wow.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. You are right, Doug. All right. Should we cut it here and do all the skating and skiing in another episode?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, join us next time when we find out exactly what the most metal sport/event in the Winter Olympics is. I'm Tim Regan. Thank you for listening.
Cast them down.
Just so you know, in the new episode, the fucks reset.
Fuck
good.
yeah.